People First Wednesday, and we're all back for more. And this week we're talking about gratitude and a little bit about a book, well-known author, Mr. John Chappelear. We're talking about, I'm going to let you run with it, John. Go for it. It's your book.
Sorry about that. Thank you for mentioning it. Yes, the old pro here, leaving it on mute. Gratitude to me sort of underpins everything. You know, if we are grateful, then everything else begins to fall into place. I really did, when I first created the 6, the idea was to be willing. Willing had its position at the very beginning. It had to be first. If you're going to be willing, then everything would start. And my next thought was, then the next thing should be gratitude, because then we begin to get grateful, then everything else. And I thought, well, maybe some of the other components. First, you had to set your path, and then realize your path, and then once all that was done, then gratitude became a natural byproduct of the behavior that the Daily 6 embraces, which is simply to be loving and forgiving, to be of service to others, and to make sure that your mind and your heart are set in the right direction. And when all that happens, gratitude is a simple byproduct of those behaviors. And you may or may not hear one of the joys of living right next door to NAS Jacksonville, which is where all the Blue Angels are located. So we have a lot of joyful flyovers. Thank you very much. But that's the thing for gratitude. I mean, for me, I was never grateful. I mean, everything I had was due me. I mean, I worked really hard. Nobody ever gave me anything. It's just like, why would I be grateful for this? You know, I'm due this. And it wasn't until I started talking to other people, and this, it's amazing how talking to other people can change your perspective, because it's not all about me. All of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, I guess, because people say that all the time, you know, I worked really hard, I deserve this. And I'm thinking, let me go introduce you to 12 other people who have worked really hard their whole lives and have nowhere near the advantages that you've had and ended up where you've ended up. So hard isn't always this reason for success. It's also right place, right time, a lot of things that you should be grateful for. For me, when I'm thinking about gratitude, these are a lot of the things I used to be proud of. You know, I used to be proud of, you know, this and that. I used to be proud of having a beautiful wife. I used to be proud of my children. You'd be proud of, and when you change the concept of being proud of these things to being grateful for these things, it changes the entire relationship. If I'm proud to be married, it's different than being grateful for my wife, being grateful for my children, being grateful for the fact that I'm here and I'm healthy again. I'm able to talk on this show today. To be grateful to have friends like the 3 of you to sort of sit down and talk with on a weekly basis, sort of keep my head from blowing off the top of my shoulders, because sometimes I can get myself wrapped around my own hoisted upon my own petard, I believe is the old enough phrase I can think. But I mean, gratitude is just where you need to be. If you need to be somewhere all the time, gratitude is a good spot to land in, because it keeps my perspective right. It keeps my hubris back on humility instead of in overbearing. You know, it just keeps me on the right path. And if I continue to think about myself as being grateful for rather than do, it just makes me a much better person, and it makes me able to relate to other people much more effectively. And that's what we need in leadership. You need to be grateful for your workers, grateful for your job, grateful for the opportunity to be able to lead. I mean, you know, again, it fits every single sentence that you can imagine.
Fantastic. Super opening. We're pushing a book today, ladies and gentlemen. And the author is sitting here with us. And gratitude is a lot about Jenny Langren's practice with executive coaches and stuff. I'm going to pass it over to Jenny right now to do a little bit of talking about.
Happy to. And happiness is actually where my mind goes when I think about gratitude. Words like happiness, joy, peace, And what comes to mind is that the things that we are present with, the things that we feed our energy, that we pay attention to, they tend to grow in our lives. And when I coach, I like to use them at the reference to social media, because pretty much everyone knows what it's like to be on Facebook, even if they're not on the platform anymore. And you know that there are algorithms, and when you invest your time in something, when you comment on a post, when you like on a content, that feed is going to grow, or that content is going to grow in your feed. And that speaks to me, and it speaks to my clients, because it's so true about pretty much anything in life. A conversation, in a relationship, the things that we pay attention to, that we focus on, they tend to grow. So we get to make the choice to be present with the things that we are grateful for. I believe that it is my presence in the little things that makes them extraordinary. Also, on my own healing journey, gratitude has been the product of being able to let go, because I used to hold on to so many things that there wasn't any room for gratitude or joy or peace. So it's been a process of letting that go and heal to create that space for the joy and happiness in my life. Thank you, Terry.
Knew that was going to be awesome. You know, I say this often, presence is the point where manifestation becomes action. And when you're present with something, you give your presence to something. Perfect example is you have two plants. One of the plants you give a lot of attention to, one of the plants you don't give so much attention to. They get the equal nourishments and water and all that stuff. The one that you pay attention to flourishes. The one that you don't pay attention to, it dies. It ceases to flourish. And you know, we as human beings, the same way. If we don't treat our people as people, and we give them the focus and attention and the presence that we want ourselves, they're going to die. And how do they die? The Great Resignation. That's what we're talking about here. People come first. You know, the whole concept of people coming first is a valid. It's a new business law. Okay, if you're not in touch and on top of your people first, your business is going to be in trouble. I'll give you a really good example, not to pick on them, but I posted about Ford Motor Corporation is laying off 3,000 people so that they can get some more focus on electric vehicles. Well, what if you took that, instead of getting rid of those 3,000 people, you got them into massive groups and let them go crazy with their brains, because there's super brain people out there, and have them create new revenue streams that's not going to detour from the bottom line. It's going to add to the bottom line. Caring about the people. We're too fast to cut things, okay? It's very easy to just block somebody off of social media because they just upset you for something that you're already upset about. The person that did the post didn't do anything. You're already having a lousy day, and you pick them to block them. We cut too soon, okay? Now, if all four of us were sitting in the same room and one of us said something that we didn't like, would we throw them out the door? Probably not. So why are we cutting them off our social media quickly? Let's find out what's going on in their lives, and perhaps we can have a little empathy about that. You know, gratitude is a big deal. And Linda, you've got some really great ideas on gratitude, and I think this would be a good time for you to pop in. Please do.
All righty then. Yeah, we hear gratitude's the attitude. And in early days of coaching, it's like all about mindset, and you have to be grateful, and you have to do this, and you have to do that. And after Terry had his open heart surgery, and my coach is like, well, what do you want to do? I had no idea. I just knew what I didn't want to do. So I just started with that. And I ended up creating what I call a pleasure list, doing whatever I wanted to do. And those were the things that made me happy. My focus was on happy. And that, excuse me, that's kind of where I've come from. It wasn't so much focusing on gratitude. And I would say all my life I've been grateful for what I've had. And, John talks about how gratitude, leads to happiness. When we're grateful, we are happy. So, yeah, maybe I started further down the chain of it. I don't know. But 22 books later, my pleasure list definitely works. And I was really not liking goals. Goals just felt so almost like shameful that you don't attain a goal. And I absolutely hated doing the paperwork in special education where I was like, here's the goal and it has to be measurable. And then here's all these objectives, and this is the first one, this is the second one. I functioned so much off of intuition and taking that next step for myself or the other person and just being in like this place of knowing, okay, what's next? So yeah, I have a real issue when it comes to goals, and I'm perfectly happy with my pleasure list. Does that make sense?
Big time, big time. Being in gratitude, I'm in gratitude with these friends and colleagues. And this series that we've been putting together, I think we have one more week to end the series. And being friends and just being happy with and in full gratitude of all of you for walking with me on this journey, on this message, because I believe it is very, very important. And, coming from a place of gratitude doesn't have to be dramatic. It doesn't have to be, I am so gratitude today. I've got so happy, blah, blah, blah. Well, if you are, you are. But if you do that all the time, that can certainly cause issues. And so the importance of gratitude and being with self. Thank yourself first. Be there first. You know, if you're not happy and you're not in gratitude for your own life, whatever you say to somebody else is really false. Okay, you're not sharing that energy, that force, if you will, that can come forward with that. And we're in quarter 3 of the calendar year. For some people, it's the last month of the fiscal year for their corporations or whatever. And how often, ladies and gentlemen that are watching today and who will eventually read this book, how often are you really giving gratitude out to the people that are making it for you? There's some fabulous leaders out there. I use Sir Richard Branson. Take care of your employees, they'll take care of your customers. And he proves it month after month after month. Great Resignation don't exist in Virgin Group. Okay? They're well taken care of. They know that the very top cares just about as much as their husbands, spouses, and everyone else in their lives do. That drives them. Customer service is the way they breathe. That's not the way they think. It's the way they breathe. It's so ingrained in them that the results of the ability to take care of the customer anywhere at any time, and literally everywhere. I mean, space, on a ship, you name it, Virgin's there. And he's building it the right way. He's building it with smart people. And you know what, ladies and gentlemen, a whole lot of those smart people aren't that IQ smart. They're smart because they're driven, they're motivated, and they're appreciated. That makes them smart. That allows their natural process of their brain to come up with new revenue ideas and everything else that goes with it, and that's very powerful. John, you got some more thoughts about number 5, gratitude?
Yeah, to me, the 2 components about gratitude are, and Jenny and Linda both remarked about happiness and gratitude. And to me, happiness is what I was always, excuse me, attempting to get. I was always trying to be happy. I wanted to be happy, 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 happy. And what I finally realized was when I became grateful, I could become happy. But happiness was elusive as long as I had no gratitude associated with it. It's like sometimes they'll say, you'll never appreciate something unless you work for it. And I've learned that that's not true. That's not very true either. I worked my behind off for many, many years and never had any appreciation of it because, again, it was due me. I'm supposed to be this successful because I worked really hard. And once the realization came that gratitude should be a part of that, then like Linda was talking about with happiness, it just flows very comfortably from that. The other component about gratitude that I really like is people spend a lot of time these days talking about being in the moment, being in the now. And gratitude will do that. If you pay attention to being grateful, I'm grateful for my health. I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful for the chair, the place I live. You notice these things that you're grateful for, all of a sudden you're in the present moment. You're not wandering around out here somewhere about what something may be in the future or next week or last week or anything else. You're paying attention to what you are grateful for, which is now. What am I grateful for today? You can be grateful for your education, but you're grateful for your education that you had in the past, but in the way in which you can use it today. So for me, gratitude always had a tendency to be the one thing that always brought me into the present moment. And the fact that that happiness is never a nonstop flight. You've got to stop once at least in gratitude before you can reach happiness for me. And that was the way that I had to learn how to be, like Linda was talking about, just sort of how do I learn to be happy? Once I was grateful, happiness became much easier to hit.
Ooh, you got to come back for that, Linda. That was terrific. What a segue.
I want to hear what Jenny has to say.
My mind went to those different words that we are using. It's happiness, there's pleasure, there's joy, and looking at it biologically, when our system is triggered by dopamine, which is also something that we experience when we're shopping or we're maybe playing a video game and where we get rewarded, that there's that kind of happiness that means that yes, it feels good and it's not enough. I want more. And then there's that joy, which has more to do with the serotonin, that is about connection. It's about feeling connection with the people around you. And this feels good and it's enough. So that's what comes to mind for me when I think about gratitude right now. Also, having coached and supported managers and leaders and CEOs through the pandemic, I know that it's been a struggle sometimes to meet your people when they're in that place of anxiety that many have been. And it's easy to become like toxic positive. Like, let's just put a smile on our faces and everything is just be happy, just be grateful now. And I think that's something that you spoke to also, Terry and John too, that's not what it's about. There's a difference between being positive and being optimistic. When we're optimistic, we meet people where they are. We call things by their true name. We stand with our people and we shed the light on the possibilities and the things that we do have. That does not take away that you also are with them through difficult emotions or other experiences. So I just want to put that in there, that there is room for everything. Welcome to the world.
That's right. And Jenny, it's a great point, because that sort of toxic happiness or whatever, if you're not emptying out the negativity, then you don't have any room for the positivity. So to take people who are really stressed and anxious and just need to talk through stuff and just get it out of themselves, yeah, then it becomes really toxic, right? We should be grateful. We should be happy. We're going to be happy. That's not happy. Don't talk like that. Yeah. So it, Terry, you were talking about the plants. It's all about connection. And we've said this so many times in the book, the book that is on its way in these lives. Connection starts with you connecting to yourself, knowing who you are, how you operate, knowing what is de-stressing for you and what creates stress for you. So that's where my head went.
Can I just say something, Terry, real quick? I just, it popped into my mind, which is kind of this toxic positivity. Sometimes it helps people, not necessarily from a toxic positivity standpoint, but this idea of fake it till you make it. Sometimes people need activity to bring them forward emotionally. It's much easier to sort of get into an activity and think about things that are, why am I enjoying this? What's making me grateful here? Why am I connecting to these other people when I wasn't connecting before? It's much easier to do than sitting at home by myself trying to find a way to be grateful. It's much easier with years of practice to sit and do some meditation than it is to sort of say, okay, I need you tomorrow. I need you to start meditating for 20 minutes at a time. And, when I start somebody in meditation, it's usually in seconds. It's like, could you just try and do this for like 20 seconds and then see how that feels? And people come out of 20 seconds like, oh my God, how long was that? And you think, it's like, it was 20 seconds. It's like, wow, it felt like it was like a week. So, people it just takes some smaller steps to get them there. And if I can get somebody to sort of come to the realization that they should be grateful or they should be happy just because of the life that they live that they've been ignoring. Sometimes they can do that intellectually, but sometimes they have to go physically live their life to realize, oh, wow, there's something else I need to be grateful for. Oh, now that I think about it, I should be grateful for this. Or now that I think about it, I should be grateful for that. And sometimes it's easier to come to the realization when you're physically connected to it rather than trying to intellectually imagine it sitting by yourself.
I love that. It reminds me of active meditation, where you're not just sitting there, right? You are moving around. You're coloring. For me, it's coloring, or maybe for Terry, it's going for a walk. So I love it. Great points.
Yeah, I'm brought back to a famous speaker and motivational speaker, Zig Ziglar. Nothing ever bothered him. Whatever happened to him, around him, or for him, or against him, or anything like that, it was fantastic. An opportunity to learn. I've got a delay at the airport here. I now have time to do the work that I would have to force myself to do at home instead of spending time with my family. Now, when I get home, because I'm late to getting home, my quality time with my family will be enriched. It wasn't, God, here I go with this airport stuff again. It was, turn it in. We learn or we learn in every situation. Far too often, people will, they'll connect with, okay, so we've done this contract 100 times. We know what we're doing. We don't even think about it. That's a mistake, because you can do 100 times with the same client doing the same basic thing. And if you think about it, every single one of them within the dynamic of that contract changed in some way. And far too often, people who are not present and giving gratitude for what they're doing, they're going to fall very short, and something's going to go wrong, and there's going to be a lot of apologizing and those kinds of things because they weren't present. And they weren't present because they weren't taking the gratitude of this contract and working with these people to heart and being present with them. That's when mistakes happen. when everybody's happy, they're full of gratitude. They're also, you know, the antennas are up, and they're not up to find mistakes. They're up to assist and to learn and to be part of and to be interactive with the people that we're talking about. You know, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who are coming in late, thanks for being here. And we're talking about gratitude today, which is number 5 of the 6, the daily 6 of John's best-selling book. And, you know, we're talking about just being thankful for yourself. And, you know, when you're thankful for yourself, you're thankful for those people around you, and you send that thank you to them, that gratitude to them, and then they do it, and they do it, and they do it, and they do it. Massive changes can occur from a single person with presence and gratitude walking into the office in the morning and changing the whole dynamic of the company, let alone just the office. We're drawing into the last minutes of what we're doing. I'm Ambassador Terry. I'm along with my colleagues, Linda Vetras-Nichols, Jenny Langren, and of course our author of the day, John Chappelear. And we have a lot of gratitude for each other, and we've been talking about it. Any final thoughts from you guys?
What comes up for me is how powerful we are. Everyone listening and tuning in has the power to echo through the lives of the people around them. If you just think of one person that comes to mind right now that you appreciate, and reach out and let them know, just, I appreciate the way you show up. I appreciate you for this or that, or just for who you are. Just sending that message and sharing that gratitude will affect their entire course. They may go home and treat their family differently because of how you share that with them. And that's just always been, I've been so amazed of the power that we do have, and how it just keeps echoing. Just thinking of my children, like it will echo through their lives and it will echo through generations what I put out there. So yeah, powerful stuff.
Outstanding, outstanding. You know, it's really amazing what some people call woo-woo is actually day-to-day life. It's just really living in the present and being a part of the life that you live in instead of trying to fight it all the time. So, John, Linda, anything?
Well, I'll do the same kind of thing that Jenny was just talking about, which is when I first started practicing, it's one of the friends of mine who helped me with the book was a minister in the town where I lived at the time in Alexandria. And Mark said, I said to Mark, you know, I'm separated from my wife, divorced from my wife, my kids are coming over, but they're really kind of disconnected from me, and they don't run and go, hi, Dad, I'm so excited to see you kind of thing. And I'm not really getting any hugs, and I'm not getting any stuff. It's just kind of like, hey, how are you doing? And he said to me, well, how often do you get down on your knees and reach out with your arms and hug them instead of waiting for them to hug you? And it was amazing because the change was instantaneous. As soon as I exhibited the behavior, and again, we talk about this all the time, model the behavior you expect. So as soon as I started modeling the behavior I expected, their dynamic changed, our dynamics changed, and the relationships bloomed and dramatically shifted from this position of resentment to one of rejoicing. And it was really an interesting dynamic, just something as simple as modeling behavior you expect.
Outstanding, outstanding. Linda, bring us in.
I love it. I always say, be the sage you want to see in the world. Yeah, that whole trickle down effect, the ripple effect, is very powerful. I run into people who they like animals better than people. It's like, if you like animals better than people, then be sure to be really kind to people. Because people, if you're unkind to them, are going to go home and be unkind all the way down the chain of command till the dog gets kicked. So you like animals better, then be really nice to people.
That's it for another week of People Come First. People come first. Thank you, my colleagues and friends, for being here to be on this journey with me. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for listening in and the comments. And please continue to comment about situations where gratitude from you changed the dynamic around you. We'd like to hear your comments, and we'll certainly be back to respond to them. Thank you very much.